3 months after Richard's funeral, Lydia still woke up expecting to feel the warm space beside her filled. Every morning it hurt all over again to find only silence and a cold pillow. She tried to keep busy, watering her plants, sorting Richard's books, but the house felt too big, too empty. So when Daniel called and said, "Mom, let's go on a trip. Just the 3 of us. You need fresh air. A road trip will help you heal," Lydia agreed, even though a quiet part of her hesitated. They packed early in the morning. Daniel carried her suitcase like he used to when he was a boy helping with groceries, smiling at her softly. Sienna, his wife, was efficient, making lists, stacking snacks into neat rows in the car's backseat. She said all the right things. "It'll be fun, Mom." But something about her perfect smile made Lydia feel small, like she was a guest in someone else's plan. The first day was long but ordinary. They played road trip music, stopped for gas, ate sandwiches in the car. Lydia stared at the moving fields outside, wondering if she was doing the right thing. By evening, they checked into a small motel just off the highway. The room smelled faintly of lemon cleaner. Sienna handled the check-in, handed Lydia her key, and told her, "You rest. We'll wake you in the morning." Lydia showered, changed into soft pajamas, and tried to read, but she couldn't focus. The air felt heavy, too quiet. Around midnight, just as she was dozing off, she heard it, 2 voices outside her door. A low whisper. Then another. She sat up, heart hammering. She recognized Daniel's voice, softer than usual, and Sienna's clipped tone, calm and firm. They were too far for her to make out every word, but she caught one line. "We'll get the forms tomorrow." Forms. She strained to hear more, but the voices faded away. Lydia stayed awake for a long time, staring at the ceiling. When morning came, she almost convinced herself she had imagined it. They drove again that day, passing farms and small towns. At lunch, Lydia reached for her phone to call her sister, but the battery was low. "I'll charge it later," she said casually. "No need," Sienna said quickly. "Save the battery for emergencies. We can text your sister for you if you want." That small thing made Lydia pause. It wasn't wrong exactly, but it made her feel controlled. That night they stayed at another motel, cheaper and even quieter. Lydia took the vitamin packet Sienna handed her, but soon felt dizzy and heavy-eyed, falling asleep too quickly. And again, in the middle of the night, whispers outside her door woke her. Her throat tightened. This time she crawled quietly out of bed, tiptoed closer, and pressed her ear to the door. She heard Sienna say, "She's tired. Tomorrow will be easier." Daniel answered, his voice low. "I don't know if we should rush her." Then footsteps. Silence. Lydia stood frozen for a long time. She didn't sleep again. The next morning, she smiled at breakfast like nothing had happened. "Beautiful day," she said, stirring her coffee slowly. But inside, her mind was racing. She didn't know what forms they meant, or why they needed her tired, but she knew something wasn't right. By the time they checked into the 3rd motel, her stomach was a tight knot. Daniel was unusually quiet. Sienna kept cheerful, almost too cheerful. As Lydia unlocked her room door that night, she noticed the receptionist glance at her, a long, knowing look that lasted just a second too long. Lydia thought nothing of it until later, when she turned down the bed covers and found something underneath her pillow. A folded piece of paper. Her hands shook as she opened it. Just 4 words, written in rushed, dark ink. "They are not who you think." Lydia sat on the edge of the bed, heart thudding so hard she could feel it in her throat. Suddenly the whispers, the forms, the tiredness, it all felt connected. She wasn't just imagining things. The question now was, what was she going to do about it? Lydia sat on the edge of the motel bed, the note trembling in her hands. The words burned into her mind. "They are not who you think." Her first instinct was to rush to Daniel's room, knock on the door, and demand answers. But her gut told her to stay quiet. If this warning was real, showing it too soon could put her in danger. So she folded the note carefully and tucked it inside her pillowcase, close but hidden. That night, she barely slept. Every creak of the old motel felt like footsteps. Every car passing by made her flinch. When morning came, she wore her usual smile, as if nothing was wrong. She didn't want Daniel or Sienna to see her fear. At breakfast, Sienna pushed another small packet of vitamins across the table. "Hey, Mom, these will give you energy." Lydia pretended to take them, slipping them quietly into her coat pocket. Her heart was beating fast. She was sure now, Sienna wanted her weak, maybe even too weak to think clearly. Later that day, While Sienna filled the gas tank and Daniel went inside the store, Lydia took the chance to step aside and quietly open her coat pocket. The note had a phone number written at the bottom. With shaky fingers, she quickly typed it into her phone. She pressed call. The line rang once, then twice. A woman's voice answered, low and careful. "Hello. This is Lydia," she whispered. I found your note." "What do you mean? They are not who I think." There was a pause. Then the woman spoke again, calm but serious. "My name is Marisol. I work at the motel front desk. I recognized your daughter-in-law. Her real name isn't Sienna. It's Cassidy Ward. She's been investigated before for taking advantage of older people like you. She gets close to families, convinces them to sign papers, and then takes everything." Lydia's knees went weak. She leaned against the wall to steady herself. "Papers," she whispered. "Yes," Marisol said. "Power of attorney. Bank forms. She isolates people and pushes them when they are tired. I overheard them talking about you last night. I had to warn you. Please, don't sign anything. Don't confront them yet. Act normal. Call this number again if you need help." The line went quiet. Then Marisol added, "Be careful. She's smarter than she looks." And the call ended. Lydia's hand shook as she slipped her phone back into her pocket. Daniel and Sienna returned to the car. Sienna's eyes lingered on Lydia for a moment, too long, like she was searching for something. Lydia forced a smile. The rest of the drive was tense. Daniel tried small talk about the scenery, but Sienna kept glancing at Lydia in the rearview mirror, her smile fixed but her eyes sharp. Lydia kept nodding, pretending to be calm, though her chest was tight. That night, they stopped at another motel. Lydia locked her door and sat down, thinking hard. She couldn't just run, not yet. She needed proof. And she needed to protect Daniel. Around midnight, the whispers came again. Lydia pressed her ear to the door. "She's almost ready," Sienna's voice murmured. "Tomorrow we'll get the signatures. She won't even question it." Daniel's voice followed, uneasy. "I don't know, Sienna. Maybe we should wait." "No," Sienna cut in sharply. "The longer we wait, the harder it will be. Trust me." Their footsteps faded away. Lydia's blood ran cold. Signatures. Marisol was right. The next morning, as they ate in the motel diner, Sienna pulled out a small folder from her bag. She slid it across the table toward Lydia. "Hey, Mom. These are just some routine papers, medical, travel insurance, that kind of thing. All standard. Just sign them and we'll be all set for the rest of the trip." Lydia looked at the papers. The first page said travel insurance. But underneath, she could see words in bold, power of attorney. Her stomach turned. She smiled faintly, keeping her voice calm. "Oh, I forgot my reading glasses in the room. I'll sign them later." Sienna's jaw tightened, but she smiled back. "Of course. Later is fine." Daniel avoided Lydia's eyes. He just stirred his coffee, silent. That night, Lydia slipped into the bathroom with her phone. Her hands were shaking as she called Marisol again. "I saw the papers," she whispered. "She really tried to make me sign." "You need help," Marisol said. "I have a contact. Detective Patel. He works on elder abuse cases. He'll know what to do. Can you meet him tomorrow if I arrange it?" "Yes," Lydia said without thinking. "Please." When she hung up, she looked at herself in the mirror. Her face was pale, her eyes tired, but something new stirred inside her, strength. She had been a teacher her whole life, patient and observant. She could be patient now. She could act normal, gather proof, and wait for the right moment. She slipped back into bed, her mind racing. She thought of Richard and how he would have told her, "Don't let them push you around, LYD." She thought of Daniel, caught between loyalty and manipulation. And she thought of Sienna, Cassidy, the woman who smiled so perfectly while planning something dark. Lydia pulled the blanket up to her chin. Tomorrow would be dangerous. But for the first time, she had a plan. Lydia woke before sunrise and watched the thin line of light creep across the motel carpet. She breathed slowly, counting to 4 in and 6 out, the way she taught nervous students before big exams. Today was her own test. She had to act normal. She had to be brave. At breakfast, Sienna was sweet and bright. "Sleep well, Mom." "Like a stone," Lydia lied, stirring her tea. Daniel looked pale. He tried to meet her eyes, then looked down again. That small flinch told Lydia what she needed. He was scared too. On the way to the car, Lydia felt a shape near her elbow. Marisol stood by the ice machine, pretending to clear a jam. Without moving her lips, she murmured, "No sudden moves. Detective Patel is close. Keep them calm." She slipped a tiny object into Lydia's palm. It was a thin recorder, light as a paperclip, with a small switch. "Clip it inside your cardigan," Marisol whispered. "Let it hear everything." Lydia nodded once. "Thank you," she said in a normal voice, like they were only talking about the weather. They drove for an hour along a stretch of quiet road. Sienna chatted about scenery and discount shops in the next town. Lydia gave small answers and watched the mirror. When they stopped at a diner, Sienna pulled a tidy folder from her tote and slid it across the table. "Let's just be efficient," Sienna said, cheerful. "If we handle these now, the rest of the trip will feel easy." Lydia kept her face calm. "Of course," she said. She opened the folder like she was only curious. The top paper said Travel Health Form in big letters. Underneath, in smaller print, were legal lines: agent, authority, financial access. She did not react. She let the recorder in her cardigan listen. "What are these for, dear?" Lydia asked mildly. "I don't want to slow you down." "It's standard," Sienna said. "In case something happens on the trip. Like, if you need me to speak to a doctor." She smiled a soft, caring smile that did not reach her eyes. "You trust me, right?" Daniel's spoon tapped his cup. Tap, tap, tap. Lydia placed her hand over his. "I trust my family," she said, voice warm and steady. "I also read everything I sign. I forgot my glasses again." She laughed lightly. "Wouldn't want to sign the wrong thing and give you access to my bank." She said it like a joke. Sienna's smile held, but a spark flashed in her eyes. "We can do it later," she said, closing the folder too fast. After lunch, Sienna suggested a quick stop at the county courthouse because they have a visitor map. Lydia felt her heart thump. Courthouse meant the push was near. She glanced out the window. In the glass reflection of a storefront, she caught a figure across the street, a man in plain clothes, talking into a small earpiece, eyes on the car. Detective Patel, she guessed. Relief washed through her like warm water. In the parking lot, Sienna turned in her seat to face Lydia. "Before we go inside, let's sign the simple parts," she said, opening the folder again. "It'll take 2 minutes." Lydia tilted her head, like a teacher encouraging a student to explain. "Tell me the simple parts," she said. Sienna kept her voice light. "This one says I can help with medical calls if you're tired. This one lets me handle small payments for gas and hotels, nothing big. This one just lets me email your bank if there's a card issue on the road." "Email my bank," Lydia said gently. "Why would we do that out of our county?" Sienna blinked, then recovered. "Because travel flags," she said. "Different county, different systems. It's just smoother." Daniel cleared his throat. "Maybe we should." "Daniel," Sienna said, too sharp. Then soft again. "We're just helping your mom. She wants help." Lydia felt the recorder warm against her skin. She pictured Patel hearing every word. She pictured Marisol by the ice machine, steady and brave. She smiled. "Let's go inside," she said. "If it's routine, the clerk can explain it to me. I'm old-fashioned like that." Inside, the courthouse was quiet, with old tile floors and a long counter. Sienna led them to a side room labeled records and forms. "Fewer lines here," she said. There was no clerk in sight. Sienna placed the folder on a table and lined up 3 pens, as if this were a signing ceremony. "Here's the thing," Sienna said, low now, almost a whisper. "When people get older, it's easy to fall behind on paperwork. I'm trying to keep you safe. If you love Daniel, you'll make this easy." The words were smooth, but the pressure behind them was heavy. Lydia felt it like a hand on her throat. She looked at Daniel. He looked at the floor, shame pulling at his mouth. "Daniel," Lydia said softly, "what did she promise you?" He flinched. "Mom, it's just help." "I thought." "What did she promise?" Lydia's voice was still gentle. A mother's voice. He swallowed. "She said it would fix my loans. That we could consolidate everything. That it would be easier if the house was in her name for a while." Silence filled the room like fog. Lydia nodded slowly. "Thank you for telling me," she said. She turned to Sienna and smiled the smallest smile. "You know, dear, I actually brought my glasses today." She reached into her bag and pulled out an old case. Inside was not a pair of glasses, but a folded paper, the note. She placed it on top of the folder. The ink words stared back. "They are not who you think." Sienna's face barely moved. Only her eyes changed, flat, cold. Then she laughed, soft and fake. That's dramatic, Lydia. It is, Lydia said. So is lying about your name, Cassidy. The door opened. A man with calm eyes stepped in, showing a badge. Detective No Patel, he said. Good afternoon. For 1 second, everything was still, the pens, the folder, Daniel's shaking hands. Then Sienna snapped the folder shut and moved fast toward the side exit. Lydia did not chase. She never raised her voice. She only said, in that same steady teacher tone, Daniel, stay with me. Footsteps in the hall. A woman's voice outside, Marisol, this way is closed. The scrape of shoes. The clink of handcuffs. A heavy exhale. Patel stepped closer to Lydia. You did very well, he said. We have enough. Lydia nodded once. Relief and grief mixed inside her, sharp and hot. She looked at her son. He was crying now, quiet tears he could not hide. I'm sorry, Mom, he whispered. I thought I was helping. Lydia opened her arms. He stepped into them like he had when he was 5 and scraped his knee on the driveway. She held him, not to erase what he'd done, but to say, I am still here. Patel spoke softly. We'll take statements. She'll be processed. You'll both be safe tonight. Lydia let go of Daniel and stood straight. Detective, she said, there's something else. The pills. The midnight whispers. The out-of-county plan. I recorded what I could. Patel nodded. Good. We'll log it. As they followed him out, Lydia glanced back at the table. The neat pens, the closed folder, the empty space where fear had sat all morning. Outside, the air felt wider. The sky was a clean blue. But as they stepped into the light, Lydia felt a small tug in her chest. A question. An itch she could not name yet. Something about the way Sienna had moved, the way she had smiled even as the badge appeared. Like she knew a second door no one else could see. Lydia tightened her grip on her bag. The battle felt won. But the war, she suddenly understood, might not be over. And somewhere, behind that clean blue sky, a new shadow was waiting to fall. At the station, everything moves in quiet steps. Papers. Signatures. A cup of water in Lydia's hand. Detective Patel speaks in a calm voice and thanks her for being brave. Daniel sits beside her, his shoulders small, his eyes red. He keeps saying, I'm sorry, Mom. And she keeps answering, we will fix it, because that is the only thing that lets both of them breathe. Through a small window, Lydia sees Sienna, no, Cassidy, behind glass. Cassidy looks tidy, almost bored, like this is a delay, not an end. She uses her one phone call. Lydia cannot hear the words, but she reads lips. List it today, Cassidy says. Different county. Use the paperwork. A cold thought slides into Lydia's stomach. She turns to Patel. She said list it today. The house. Could there already be papers? Patel's face tightens. He makes 2 quick calls. Minutes later he comes back with news that tastes like metal. A quitclaim deed was submitted this morning in a neighboring county. It says you transferred your house to a temporary family trust. And the agent is Cassidy Ward. He looks at Lydia. If the clerk records it by end of day, it will take weeks to unwind. Daniel's hand flies to his mouth. Oh God. Lydia stands. Then we don't let them record it. They move fast. Patel drives. Marisol, who came to the station to give her statement, slides into the back seat without asking. I'm coming, she says. Her voice is steady. They race down the highway, the sky thick with late afternoon light. Lydia stares out the window and thinks of her garden, her kitchen clock, the little chips in the hallway paint. A house is not only wood and brick. It is a life. At the county recorder's office, the air is cool and quiet. A line of people, slow and patient. Patel shows his badge and asks for the supervisor. A clerk checks a screen, frowns, and pulls a folder. Yes, here it is, the clerk says. Filed a few hours ago. Waiting for final review. The notary is Ava Cole. Marisol's head snaps up. Ava Cole. Her eyes flash with something like anger. She used to show up at hospice, offering free notarizations to families. I reported her once. Patel nods. Is she here? Back office, the clerk says, uneasy. They step into a small meeting room where a woman is sorting stamps and forms. She looks up. Can I help? Ava Cole. Patel shows his badge. We need to talk about this deed. Ava's smile is smooth. Oh, I only notarized what the signer presented. Routine. The signer was not Lydia Hale, Patel says. And the ID used was forged. Where did you meet the signer? A tiny pause, then Ava shrugs. I don't keep track of every location. Marisol steps forward. You met her in a motel lobby. Ava's eyes slide, just for a second. The smallest crack. Patel sees it. Sit down, he says. This office has cameras. We will get the footage. You can help now, or you can help after you're charged. The door opens. A supervisor enters with 2 security officers. Patel explains, clear and simple. The supervisor looks at the deed and then at Lydia. We won't record this, she says. Not today. Not ever, unless a court orders it. She stamps the folder on hold in thick red ink. Lydia exhales so deeply her knees feel weak. Ava tries to stand. Patel signals the officers. Ms. Cole, you're detained for questioning about fraud and conspiracy. As they take her out, Ava glances at Lydia with a cold, flat look. The look of a person who has done this before and will try to do it again. Lydia holds the stare, steady. She is done being afraid. Back at the station, Patel gets a call. His mouth softens. He hangs up and turns to Lydia and Daniel. Cassidy talked, he says. She tried to make a deal and named 3 people in her ring, including Ava. She admitted to coaching Daniel and preparing those vitamin packets, diphenhydramine, to keep you drowsy. Daniel flinches. Lydia places her hand over his. We have the truth now, she says. It gets better, Patel adds. Because of the recording, the courthouse attempt, and the deed, the charges are strong. We'll also put a freeze on your property record and your credit. And we'll set you up with a victim advocate who can help with locks, passwords, and a financial counselor. They sign some forms, the good kind. The kind that protect. Lydia changes her pins. She places a fraud alert. She writes the steps in her neat teacher handwriting. Freeze credit. New bank passwords. No signatures without counsel. It feels like putting bricks back into a wall, one by one. Night falls. Daniel drives Lydia home with Patel following in an unmarked car. The house sits quiet in the dark, but it doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels like a thing she has defended, like a chest of memories she held onto with both hands. Inside, Lydia turns on the kitchen light. The yellow glow is warm. Daniel stands in the doorway, folding and unfolding his fingers. Mom, he says, voice cracking. I don't know how to fix this. I thought I was helping us. I thought if we did it fast, nobody would. I was stupid. You were scared, Lydia says. And you believed the wrong person. From now on, you don't touch my papers. You don't touch my accounts. If you need help, you tell me the truth. We will find a clean way. She pauses. We'll also take space. You'll earn this back, inch by inch. He nods, crying quietly. I will. There's a knock at the door. Marisol stands on the porch with 2 paper cups of tea. For your first night home, she says. Lydia laughs softly and wipes her eyes. Come in. They sit at the table, the 3 of them. Patel calls once more to confirm. Cassidy is being moved. Ava is in custody. The deed is frozen. The ring is cracking apart. When the house is quiet again, Lydia walks to the living room. She lifts Richard's photo from the mantel and holds it against her chest. We're okay, she whispers. I didn't sign. I didn't give away what we built. She sleeps better that night than she has in months. In the morning, she makes a list on a fresh index card. Call lawyer. Set up a living trust with a professional trustee. Update will. Change locks. Join grief group on Thursday. Thank Marisol properly. Plant new daisies. Simple things. Strong things. A life, piece by piece. A week later, Lydia sits in a small meeting room at the community center. 5 chairs in a circle. A poster on the wall that says, healing is not a straight line. She tells her story in simple words. She does not hide the shame, the fear, or the part where she almost said yes. The others nod. One woman squeezes her hand. After the meeting, Lydia walks outside. The sky is bright and ordinary. She calls Daniel. Dinner on Sunday, she says. Just you. We'll take it slow. He says yes in a small voice that sounds like hope. On the way home, Lydia stops at a nursery. She buys a tray of small plants, daisies, because they are honest flowers. Back at the house, she kneels in the soil and presses each one in. The dirt is cool. The sun is warm on her neck. A neighbor waves from across the fence. Lydia waves back. As she stands, her phone buzzes. A message from an unknown number. I'm sorry. No name. She knows it is Cassidy. Lydia does not reply. She blocks the number. She puts the phone in her pocket and walks inside. The twist of the road trip tried to break her. The papers tried to erase her. But she is still here. She kept her home. She kept her name. And now, she keeps something else too. Clear eyes, firm boundaries, and a life that belongs to her. She closes the door, not with fear, but with choice.